too. They can't be one by itself.
Not, you mean diatomic? It's diatomic when it's by itself.
Right,
When I just have hydrogen gas, it's H2.
right.
But I have two hydrogens here because the O is a -2. And these two are +1s. This is peroxide, and that's the only case where oxygen is a -1. This is the peroxide's a weird, kind of offshoot of typical oxygen combos.
So then, what is hydrogen?
What
Is
is
it
I mean, it's a
peroxide
compound.
with hydrogen in it?
It has an extra oxygen in it, so when you decompose hydrogen peroxide, it actually leaves behind water and gives off oxygen gas. So the bubbling that you see when it interacts, and it has to react with open loops, it has to react with your cells. So when you see that bubbling taking place, it's oxygen gas that's in the bubbles.
I
Not,
prefer hydrogen peroxide over alcohol. Oh,
That doesn't
for
hurt.
something, for
alcohol hurts. Alcohol is a drying agent, so alcohol like kills bacteria by drying them up. And then this one is also, it's that activity of the extra oxygen suffocates them sort of. It's a good antiseptic for cuts and stuff, and that's what Bactine typically, it doesn't have any of that, stinging power that alcohol does. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, calculating actual molecular formulas, and that's gonna be on this page over here on the side, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give you, the notes to take for this one, where the molecular formula is the actual formula of the compound, and it's usually in multiples of the empirical formula. So, from these calculations, we have to figure out what the empirical formula is first. They give you the molar mass, and you divide, you figure out how many times the empirical mass is compared to the molar mass, and then you use that factor and multiply the formula and come up with the actual formula of the compound. So we'll do a couple examples of that. It's not, you'll follow the routine, it's not too bad. So usually they'll give you the empirical formula, they'll give you the molecular mass, and then you have to figure out what multiple the empirical formula mass is compared to the molecular mass. Is everybody okay copying these down? Is it going? And next week we start reactions. So we've got a lot of labs going on. Starting next week. You guys ever balance equations or anything like that, like in middle school, you remember?
Barely.
We set them equal to each other?
Yeah. How many hydrogens this side?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah. You have to do some of that too. We'll just kind of start with that.
Something you can afford.
Guys, let me know when you're ready to do some math. Okay, if anybody needs calculators, come up and get them. You are gonna need periodic tables, because that's what's hard to see. So get those handy, you'll need those for this page and the last page. Are we done with those? No, not yet. Almost. I'm gonna do my work up here. Okay, so I'm gonna do number 1, and then I'm also gonna do number 3, because number 1 and 2 are the same kind of format, and then 3 through 5 are the same format. So I'll show you how to do each one of those. But we'll start with the first one. It tells you the empirical formula of a compound is NO2. So this is gonna be the simplest ratio of this compound, and its molecular mass is 92 grams per mole. It's asking you what's the molecular formula of this. So I am gonna have nitrogen and oxygen. There's gonna be 2 times as many oxygens as there are nitrogen. You just have to figure out how many times more. Okay, so first step that you need to do is you need to calculate the molar mass of this NO2. You need the molar mass of your empirical formula, which is 46. Okay, this is my molar mass of NO2. That's the mass of this. What I need to know is what times 46 is gonna give me, what times 46 is gonna give me 92. So how do I get 6 on the side? How do I get X on the side by itself?
Divide by 46.
Divide by 46,
On both
so
sides.
I'm gonna bring 46 over here. What's 92 divided by 46?
2.
2, so X equals 2. So what that means is that I'm gonna take this empirical formula and I'm gonna multiply everything by 2. So this X is how many times I have to multiply this. So my formula is gonna be what? I'm gonna multiply my empirical formula
2
by this. Let's do that. My formula is N2O4.
Where'd you get the 4 from again?
2 times 2.
Okay, yeah.
So 2 times 1 and 2 times 2.
Got it.
Kind of get it?
Mhm.
So you'll do the same process for number 2. Number 2 is asking you it's giving you the empirical formula of CH2, and the molecular mass is 70. So go ahead and do that one. Find the mass of CH2. Plug it in the same way that I did here. See if you can come up with the formula.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it is. What's the mass of CH2?
14.
14. Molecular mass is 70. You want to know how many times 14 gives you 70. And the answer is 5. And if my empirical formula is CH2, my molecular formula is C5H10. You want to double check yourself, calculate the molar mass of C5H10, you should come up with 70. It's a way of just, making sure that you're doing the right thing. 3, 4, and 5 kind of take you back to what we did last week, and that's giving you the percents. So you have to go back to the first page on the right-hand side, determining the empirical formula. They're giving you the percents, which means that you're going to have to figure out the empirical formula first, and then you can do this. So we're going to start with a compound that's 40% carbon. So what I'm going to do is change that 40% to 40 grams of carbon. I'm just going to go ahead and situate these. I have 6.7 grams of hydrogen and 53.5 grams of oxygen. So I have 3 different things. I have to figure out how many moles each of these are. So 40 grams gets divided by, what's my mass of carbon?
12.
12. So I'm going to do that. 6.7 is divided by mass of hydrogen, which is 1. And then 53.5 is divided by 16. Again, those numbers should start kind of sticking in your head, because they keep coming up with everything. 40 divided by 12 equals 3.33. 3.33.
Divided by stack.
Okay, 6.7 divided by 1 equals 6.7. And then 53.5 divided by 16, 3.34. Without doing the math, can you tell me what the ratio is? Just by what's up here?
Yeah.
Where is it?
733.
3.33, 6.7, 3.34. What do you do with ratios? Divide it by the smallest. So if I divide this by 3.33, I get 1. 6.7 divided by 3.33? 2. 3.34, this is like almost the same number. 1. 1 to 2 to 1, this is twice as much. So what's my empirical formula?
CH2.
That's my empirical formula. For every 1 carbon, there's 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. So that's empirical formula. Now I'm going to do this up here. It's a little bit of work, but it's not hard. What's my empirical formula of CH2O? What's the mass of that?
Thirty.
12 plus 2 plus 16 is 2.
12 plus 2 plus 16? 30. And it's telling you that the molecular mass is 60. What's X? X equals 2. That's my empirical formula. So my molecular formula is
C2H4, C2H4.
does think you can handle the other two? There's a little bit of work just kind of stepping it through. So for these 3, 4, and 5, you have to find the empirical formula first. You do that by just changing all your percents to grams, dividing those by your mass, coming up with these numbers and finding the ratio. Another one. It's harder. So 4.9 grams carbon, 13 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Goes here. 12. Goes here. 1. 16. Do the math. 64.9 divided by 12. 5.4. 13.5 and 1.3 divided. Lowest number? 1.35. 1.35.
410.
That's your empirical formula.
But don't you have to like make it smaller?
Well, tell me what my empirical formula is first.
C4 for age 10. Oh, wouldn't it be C2H5?
This is 1.
Yeah, but don't you
So
have to
if
make
you
it
divide that
smaller?
by 2, it's x5. That is the empirical formula. It just happens to be a really big one. So let's do the math of that. The mass of this. C4H10O,
It's 74.
74. And it tells you that the molecular mass is 74. So what's the molecular formula? Which is the same thing. It's the same thing. You guys handle number 5? Is anybody not following what I'm doing? There's a lot of numbers. If you really like math, you really like chemistry, this is what's called analytical chemistry. It's all the math part of chemistry.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure everything out mathematically. Does anybody like math?
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm in honors now, so.
Not four?
I actually failed math too. They put me into 4 different math classes. My freshman year of high school. So I had no idea what to do.
Math, I have to bad in math, it's really tough.
I'm good at math too. I've always